It's very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, I was like, oh, something's off.
And I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something,
Get that crowd warmed up. Is Mr. Jehovah Tiger.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another edition of Warcry Podcast Movie Review. And on this movie review, as you've seen in the title, we're going to be talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And one thing right off the bat, this movie is a sequel. But I love it when they do these time jumps. And this movie is not a direct sequel to Caesar. And if you haven't seen the first three, not the ones in the late 60s, in the 70s, but I call them the prequel trilogy. Because to me, it makes sense to me. So if you have seen the original Planet of the Apes, and you have those, you have the time traveling and all that stuff. One thing that makes me believe that this is like basically a big circle. The monkeys in the, what was it, 3090 or 3930, whatever year that was, they don't know what happened in 2028 or 2028, Jesus. 2018, I believe, 2016, whatever time that is. Now the time, obviously, in the last one, you're like, oh, it's 91. But one thing I think that makes sense is those monkeys or those apes that were in charge of the knowledge didn't have a direct line of what really happened. And so with this prequel series, in my opinion, just from what I like watching these movies, I've seen, a Sunday afternoon movie where they played Planet of the Apes like, all day, all other movies, even the Tim Burton one, that was on FX or Fox. And, it makes sense. They go back in time, she's pregnant. I can't remember their names, man. The names are escaping me at this time. But Cornelius is the father, and they named their child Caesar. In the prequel series, or in the prequel, quote unquote, we don't know who Caesar's father is. She's pregnant, and we're looking at it from a different colored lens too, because Caesar grew up, in the original Planet of the Apes, he was like a slave to the governor. He was like basically just like a pawn for the governor. And I'm also wondering if like that is, there's some plot holes. Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's completely linear, but I think it has something to do. And I think with rewriting Caesar's origin story, it makes sense, that they went back in time to another timeline. And what they're seeing in those movies is Caesar, as basically like a slave race, which if you think about it in the prequel series, that I'm calling a prequel series, in the trilogy that just came out here in the last couple of years, apes were kind of our, we used them as entertainment. We used them as research, and, you hear those stories about those monkeys on this island that have all these different diseases. So it's not too far off. But if you haven't seen the prequel series, I would cut this off now. Like, I would just shut down this review because they do callbacks to this series. To the previous trilogy by Max Reeves, and I can't remember the other guy that did the first one. But, this movie starts off with paying homage to those previous trilogies, or the trilogy. And as the movie keeps going, and I think that's one thing I love about this movie, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, is that they do this we us as humans, we do this thing where we hear something and it always turns like we hear something, we internalize it, and then we repeat it how we understand it. And that happens. And I like that they showed that because, 300 plus years later, what Caesar said, is not exactly what's happening now. You know, we take these buzzwords, we take these phrases as humans that we hear from our religious texts, where we get from our historians how they interpret it, and that's kind of what's happening in this movie. Um, the little girl that plays May Freya Allen, I believe her name was in real life, she did a pretty good job. I can see her being, you know, that um, almost like you don't know if she's on your side. And this movie really had me debating. I really on my way home, I saw this at like 8:30, at night, and I had to sit and think about like whose side am I really on? Because you look at the ape side, and they have communities, they have rules, they have regulations, they have ways of life, they have culture, and part of me is like I can relate to that. As you guys know, I've spoken about this on this podcast a million times that I'm Native American, and I see that, and I'm like, okay, they're figuring it out. They're trying to make it work for their community, and they have rules and they have balance. They understand balance. They understand that you must treat things with respect. Ape must not kill ape. Uh, Together, ape strong, and that's a thing in the previous trilogy that is very prominent. And but as a human being, I'm seeing a human being, and I'm like, man, she not wrong either, though. And throughout this movie, you meet the new Caesar, prominent Caesar, and Kevin Durand plays him. And if you guys don't know who that is, he's in The Strain. He plays that. I can't think of that guy's name, and he's in The Strain. He has a movie called Dark as the Night. It's a creature feature. He did a really great job playing this because one thing about him is he's got creepy eyes, and I feel like the motion capture got his eyes correctly because he was just really ominous, but at the same time, in front of the other apes, he's all like, "Hey, what a wonderful day!" Saying what Caesar said, and I find the character in that to be so interesting because there's double dynamics. Like he wants the best for his people, the apes, but he wants to know what the humans knew, and the May character, it was predicted maybe she might be coming down on a spaceship, or she has, she was never infected, and with the virus from the that wiped out humanity and made the apes smart. And I just find her character, it really kind of made me not really sure whose side I need to be on this. Because I think they both have protagonist type of vibes. But then at the same time, they look at each other and they have this look on each other. When they look at each other, you'll see it in the movie if you go when you go see it, because you need to go see this movie. If you're a huge Planet of the Apes fan, this is not a Tim Burton Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. It is not. It's definitely not. But this movie does something to you where you kind of not sure whose side you should be on. And the ending may make a lot of people mad. It may make a lot of people mad. But it makes sense to me because why wouldn't there be a pocket? And when I say pocket, you'll see when you see the movie. And there's different things that the reason why May is following Nova, or not Nova. They call her Nova, which is a throwback to the original trilogy, or original movies. I don't think it's more than 3 movies, but they all run together too. Those early, the ones in the 60s and 70s, they all run together. Like, I don't even remember their names. I just call it Planet of the Apes, and I just watch them all the way through. It's like you just put them all together. But it kind of gives a call back to those original movies, and who she is and where she's from and what she knows. And with 300 years in the future, it's weird that us as in that movie, this human knows so much and has an agenda. So the movie is beautiful. I love The Last of Us when it comes to like the abandoned baseball stadium and things like that. Well, it's similar vibes on that. When you see these apes riding horses, which is a crazy sight to me, in my opinion. But you see these abandoned and overgrown skyscrapers, and it just gives you like, man, we're down bad as humans. Like, we're down bad, and these apes have taken over. And it's another thing too that I find very interesting about this movie is, in the originals, you look at like, oh, you're not supposed to go over to this place because this is where they go, and it's very interesting. And like that, and nobody in Noah's tribe or his clan, he's what he calls them. They know what these humans are, and it's just a discovery, and it gives you a little bit of background on what happened in the last 300 years. Orangutans play in this movie a wise man of sorts, a religious holy man of sorts. But there's a lot of characters that you're going to love in this movie, and I suggest that you go see it. And I'm going to do a further breakdown, I think, because there's a lot of religious undertones, a lot of like I don't want to rock the boat undertones that I absolutely loved. It was something that I always find myself in my life doing, that is rocking the boat and being an agent of change, I guess you could say. But there's a lot of let's just follow the leader. Let's do what he says, and then we'll follow. And so it just gives me a lot of thought. And my letterbox rating for this movie, I'm biased, as y'all gonna be like, dang, 5 stars for real? But I gave it 5 stars and I liked it. The non-biased part of me is giving it a 4.5, or in between a 4 and a 4.5. But I love this movie. Go see it. If you guys like me doing movie reviews, subscribe. I'm going to do a few more as I've seen more movies. I thought about doing a Baby Reindeer review, like a spoiler, with spoilers if you haven't seen it. I don't know. That was kind of greasy, kind of skeezy. There's a few. There's one episode that just makes my skin crawl. But like I said, let me know in the comments if you like me doing movie reviews or TV show reviews. And like I said, guys, follow me, Facebook, Yahola Tiger. Message me. Let me know that you listen to the pod. TikTok and Instagram or Warcry Pod. And like I said, guys, I appreciate the support, and I'll catch you on the next one.